Hello friends and welcome. I'm Sarah Liz and I am back with a card to share with you today that is sneakily sassy. The front is all Christmas wishes and glitter paper, and the inside, you'll have to wait, but very sassy indeed. So this is from the new release from Cat Scrappiness. This is a silver glitter paper and there's no actual glitter, it just looks like glitter. Then we're going to use the Snow Flurries stencil and the Humbug word die. Then this is an old one, the Snowflake Trio. I love it a ton. I thought I was going to use the Birthday Essentials for the present, but I didn't end up using that, but certainly you could. And then the Christmas Wishes die, the Naughty Stamp set, and then the double stitched rectangle. It looks like a lot, but you could pick and choose. You can probably use some things that you have in your stash to make this. These are just some of my favorites from old and new products. Cat Scrappiness just had a huge release, and there's lots of good stuff in there. To start off my card, I am coming in with a piece of A2 purple cardstock. So it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm just ink blending around the edges with a medium purple ink, and then I'll come in with a slightly darker purple ink. And it's a little blotchy on the edges, but I'm going to cut this down. So I'm not really worried about that. I'm trying to make sure I'm bringing it far enough into the center that I do get that variation in color and that sort of spotlight look in the middle. Then I'm going to grab one of my double stitched rectangles. This leaves stitching on both the inside and the outside of the rectangle. And I'm sort of checking sizes here, but I'm going to go with the second largest, and I will cut out then the center of that purple panel of cardstock. And that'll leave me a nice frame of that silver glitter paper. To add the texture of my Snow Flurries stencil, I am coming in with some white silver pearl powder. This is water activated. And there's a couple of ways I could have gone about this. So I just sprayed a little bit of water, not too much, and I'm coming in with a clean, dry sponge dauber. And I'm trying to make sure I'm not bringing too much moisture to my stencil. I don't want this spreading out once I dot it through the stencil, and it will leave this lovely shimmery shine. If I had waited for my purple ink to dry, I could have come in instead with some Versamark ink, and then I could have used a soft brush to rub the powder over that Versamark ink, and that would have worked as well. Then I am going to start working on the additional layers to this front panel. I have this Christmas Wishes die that I have cut out twice from some deep plum cardstock, and I'm just going to use some wet glue. I find it's easier to stack up word dies with wet glue than it is with dry adhesive. So I just dot little bits of glue on any of the pieces of the word, like the top of the T, the beginnings and ends of the words that are hanging out, and then a few places in the middle where I feel like there's thicker pieces of the letter. And then I will tap off that glue on the back of my hand to keep it from oozing out when I go to put everything together. And then I just start at one end and I carefully sort of line things up and wiggle things into place, and it comes together pretty easily. I also have cut out the shadow for Christmas Wishes from some silver vellum. I have no idea where that's from. It's been in my stash for an age and I never use it because it's so pretty. Do you do this? Like what have you been hanging on to for? I probably had this for a decade. So I will again add little dots of glue and I will put that onto the shadow die. And then I have the little dots for the eyes that I kept. I find it's easier to stack them up straight onto the shadow instead of trying to like stack those up together and then add them. My little wax tipped embellishment wand is a huge help here. And so once I stack those up, I can move on to my snowflakes. These are beautiful. They're a good size, or at least the big ones are really good size. And then they get smaller from there. Usually in a snowflake set, I like 1 or 2, but not all of them. I love all 3 of these, and the price point is really good. So I will make sure to link these and everything that I'm using today below. I have just laid those out on my purple panel, and then I'm using a clear sticky mat to pick them up. So A, I know where I had them, but B, these are really delicate and fiddly, and I have a hard time laying down pieces like this without getting glue everywhere or smearing glue onto the background. And so this just holds the entire snowflake in place when I go to lay it onto my panel. I'm also going just one snowflake at a time. It's a lot of tiny little dots of glue. and I didn't want the glue on the first one to dry while I was adding dots of glue to the second one. So that helped out to make sure that everything was going to stick down the way I wanted it to. This last one's small enough. I'll just pick it up with my fingers, and then I'm going to change my mind on where I want it, and I'm going to hem and haw about it. But I'm pretty happy with it. I'll put that right down towards the bottom, and then I can just trim off the excess with my scissors, and it's pretty simple. That's a white glitter cardstock for those snowflakes. It's kind of hard to capture it on camera, but I wish you could see all of the shine on this panel because we've got that pearl powder in the background. We have the white glitter cardstock. There's a little bit of like a silvery pearlescence to that vellum, and it's so pretty. I've added little dots of glue to the back of the shadow layer, and I kind of held it sideways so I had light shining behind it to make sure that I wasn't going to put glue where you could see it through the vellum. So it was right behind that plum cardstock, and then I added that to my panel. I've got some 1mm thin foam tape on the back of this panel, and I will just try to center that as best I can. I added wet glue because I never get it straight the first time, ever. And I like being able to kind of pick it up and wiggle it. I think I was at this for 5 minutes. You guys, I cut some of this out. You can't even tell, but anyway, do you have a hard time with this? I've tried standing up. I've tried doing it sitting down. I don't know. It's on there, and I'm pretty happy with it. Before I add that to my card base, we're going to decorate the inside. So I have my same Snow Flurries stencil, and I am just going over it with the palest purple ink. I tried to do it without putting extra ink on my brush, but there just wasn't enough on there. And I did sort of mask off the top. I only wanted it in that lower portion. I've got the shadow for the Bah Humbug on here just for placement. And then I am grabbing a stamp from the Naughty stamp set. It's got to be one of my favorite holiday stamp sets ever. Certainly, if you're not a sassy card kind of person, you could skip all of this and just do the pretty front of the card. But I love when the front looks like one thing and then the inside is like, ah, gotcha. Here's a little joke to go with it. So it's going to say, Bah Humbug, you are so getting coal. And that's where I was thinking I was going to bring in the present die as well. And there's like a coal in the present, but the present is sizable. And I felt like it just wasn't going to leave enough room to write a message. To make sure I get that Bah Humbug centered and right where I want it, I cut both the word and the shadow out at the same time. And so then I can fit the Bah Humbug in like little puzzle pieces. So there's 4 separate parts. The Bah, the Humbug, and then the 2 pieces of the exclamation point. Not really hard. I probably could have eyeballed it, but actually, I don't know if you can tell, my voice is all kind of scratchy and crazy. I've been really sick lately. My kids brought some kind of plague home. And I was like, you know what? We're just going to cover all the bases. So I used the shadow die to get the first 2 pieces on there right where I wanted them. And then I went rogue and I just used my glue bottle in my eyeballs to put the exclamation point on, and that was easy enough. And now all we have to do is add our front panel to our card. You guys, I can't get over this. I haven't done a deep purple for Christmas yet, and I love this with the sort of steely gray behind it, that silver glitter cardstock. So I'll just use some wet glue to get that all lined up. And then I like to flip my cards over when I start really pressing down on things to make sure that I'm not gonna like knock something off the front of my card, and that finishes it up. I hope you enjoyed this. If you like a sassy inside to your cards, let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and I will see you next time.